Okay, so looking at this problem, 9m squared plus 48m plus 48. First thing we do is pull out the GCF, the greatest common factor, if that's possible. And that is possible. Okay, so we do that by putting our parentheses around it and getting the greatest common factor out of these three numbers here. Okay, so now when you look at these numbers, we have the 9m squared and the 48 and the 48. We ask ourselves what greatest common factor we can pull out, and look at their 9. So 1 times 9, let's try 9. 9 can be divided into 9 evenly. Can we divide 48 by 9? No. So 9 won't work. But 3 times 3 gives us 9. Those are factors, so let's try 3. 9 can be divided by 3. And 48, yes, it can be divided by 3. That's 16. And so can 48, because that's the same number. So what we do is we're going to use that 3, and we're going to rewrite it on the line below, on the outside of the parentheses, 3. And then we need to put 3 new terms in these parentheses. Okay, so we ask ourselves, what's 9m squared divided by 3? And that gives us 3m squared. Okay, and then we have plus 48m divided by 3. Again, that gives us plus 16m. And then finally we have plus 48 here divided by 3 gives us plus 16. Okay, so now we're left with this right now, 3 times parentheses, 3m squared plus 16m plus 16 equals 0. So that was step 1. We pulled out the GCF. Okay, and now we're going to move on to step 2. And in step 2, we're going to draw the line connecting the first and third term. Okay, so if you remember what we did here, we draw a little line like this, and we say, what is 3 times 16? 3 times 16 gave us 48. And remember, Mr. Dagres says put that little arrow right there with that plus, because we have to remember that the same two numbers that times equal 48 have to add to equal 16. Okay? And then step 3, right here, this tells us that we have to list the factors of that number, 48. Okay, so we're going to list our factors of 48 on the side here. And we say what times what equals 48. So we have 1 and 48. And we also have 2 times 24. That equals 48. 3 times what? 3 times 16. And then we have 4 times what? 4 times 12 gives us 48. 5 times nothing gives us 48. We also do have 6 times 8. And that's it. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you can also use negatives. For example, negative 1 times negative 48. That also gives us a positive 48. But remember where we're going. We have to ask ourselves, which of these two numbers right here, any of these two numbers that we choose, when you add them, they have to equal this term right here, this second term, 16. Okay? So now we go up and down this list. So what I'm saying is there's no negatives in this one because this 16 right here is positive. So let's start with this first one. What's 1 plus 48? That's 49, so that's not it. How about 2 plus 24? That's 26. That is not 16. 3 plus 16 is 19. That's not it. And 4 plus 12 is 16. So we know we're going to use these two numbers, 4 and 12. Why? Because these are the factors of 48, and when you add them together, they equal the 16, this second term right there. Okay, so now, one more thing. Now that we've found those two numbers, just a heads up, we're going to use this 3m squared, we're going to use this 16, and we're going to use these two numbers, 4 and 12, in our next step. Okay, so we have our numbers 3m squared plus 16, and then 4 and 12, and these are the numbers we're going to use. And step 4 is to draw your box and enter your terms and pull out the GCF. So remember, we're using the box method. We draw a box, and then we draw a line going up and down, and a line going across. Now, you just have to remember this, okay? In the top left box, you put 3m squared. In the bottom right box, you put your 16. Okay. And then in the other two boxes where you put your other two numbers, 4 and 12. It doesn't matter which one you put them in, because either way, you're going to get the correct answer. Okay. So let's put the 4 there, and you have to remember also to put an m. And then we're going to put the 12 up there. And you also put an M with that one. Okay. So now you look at this box, and what we have is 2 rows going horizontal and 2 rows going up and down, and that's how we're going to treat them. We're going to start with this first row going horizontal. And what you do is, again, you pull out the GCF, but this time you ask yourself, well, what common numbers can you pull out GCF-wise, and also the variables. Okay. So if you look at your 3 and your 12, the greatest one we can pull out is a 3. And now we have an m squared and an m, so we also pull out an m. And all you do is write it on the side, on the left side right there. Okay. So now let's look at our second row down here. We have 4m and 16. So of the 4 and the 16, we can pull out a 4. And there's no variables. There's an m there, but there's nothing there, so we just leave it as a 4. Okay. And then now let's look at this row, this first row going up and down. Okay. We have a 3 and a 4, so there's no GCF, so we can just leave it as 1. But we do have a common variable. We have m squared and m, so we can pull out an m. And then finally we have here 12 and 16, and if you look at these, we can pull out 4. So pull out a 4, and then there's no variable. Okay. So that's what we have so far. Okay, and step 5 here is to make your parentheses, add your signs, and write the answer. Now this is really easy because all you do is put parentheses here, and if there's no negative sign, you put a plus. Okay, and then you kind of look at this one sideways, but you also put a parentheses there, put plus. So really what you have is your 3m plus 4 and 1m plus 4, and also don't forget that 7 that we pulled out in the beginning, and then your equals 0. Okay, so that's the answer right there. Okay, and the next step is to solve, and solving is the really easy part, because all you really have to do is take these two terms that are in the parentheses, this 3m plus 4 and 1m plus 4, and make them equal to 0. So we say 3m plus 4 equals 0, and then you solve for m just like you would. Let's put the other one here so we also don't forget. 1m plus 4 equals 0. So let's start with this one on the left. We minus 4 to both sides, and we're left with 3m equals negative 4. Divide both sides by 3, and then we have m equals negative 4 thirds. Okay, you can put it in a decimal form if you'd like. That's fine. And then over on the right side, we minus 4 to both sides, and then we have m equals negative 4, and then there's your two solutions. Okay. Now keep in mind you can check by taking these two solutions and plugging them back into the original equation. Okay. One other way to check, in case you're just factoring and not solving, okay, is to take this part right here and I meant to say 3, don't forget to pull out put that 3 there that we got from the beginning, that we pulled out from the beginning. So the last thing you can do is distribute and check to make sure you're correct. So let's put this 3 to the side right now. What we do is take this 3m times 1m, and in parentheses that gives us 3m squared. And then we have 3m times 4, and that gives us plus 12m. 4 times 1m gives us plus 4m. And then 4 times 4 gives us plus 16. Okay, again we have this 3 on the outside. We'll use that in a second, but let's combine like terms first. So we have 12m plus 4m. And we have 3m squared and 12m plus 4m, that gives us plus 16m. And then we bring down our plus 16. And then finally, we take that 3 times 3m squared, that gives us 9m squared. 3 times positive 16m, that gives us plus 48m. And then lastly, we have 3 times 16 is plus 48. And if you notice, this is the original problem that we started with, so we did check it, and if you factored it, that would be correct. If we solved, we would plug in our solutions right there. That's the beautiful thing about math. When you get your answer, you can check it and make sure you get 100% A+ on your quizzes and exams. So thanks for watching.